Update at 4. The leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has been intercepted by operatives of Nigeria's security intelligence. Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, announced this on Tuesday in Abuja. Mr. Kanu has already been arraigned before the Federal High Court in the Federal Capital Territory, and the case is adjourned to the 26th of July. Nnamdi Kanu was on 14th of October 2015 arraigned by the federal government over allegations of terrorism, money laundering and treasonable felony. He was later granted bail and he violated the conditions by escaping out of the country, leading to the revocation of the bail on the 28th of March 2018. On 28th March 2018, his bail condition was revoked by Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court.
Back to Nigeria in order to continue facing trial after disappearing while on bail regarding 11-count charge against him. Recent steps taken by the federal government saw to the interception of the fugitive Kanu on Sunday, the 27th day of June 2021. The acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has, for your information, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services. Nigeria, in order to continue facing trial after disappearing while on bail regarding 11-count charge against him. Recent steps taken by the federal government saw to the interception of the fugitive Kanu on Sunday, the 27th day of June 2021. Inande Kayanyi Nnamdi Kanu was born on the 25th September 1967 at Afrauku, Abia State, Nigeria, and indeed a holder of Nigerian passport number AO 8051368827, first issued on the 17th October 2013 at Festa. Often John been accused of engaging in subversive activities that include inciting violence through television, radio, and online broadcast against the Nigerian state and institutions. Kanu was also accused of instigating violence, especially in southeastern Nigeria, that resulted in the loss of lives and property of civilians, military, paramilitary, police force, and destruction of civil institutions and symbols of civil authorities. The acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has, for your information, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services. Often John been accused of engaging in subversive activities that include inciting violence through television, radio, and online broadcast against the Nigerian state and institutions. Kanu was also accused of instigating violence, especially in southeastern Nigeria, that resulted in the loss of lives and property of civilians, military, paramilitary, police force, and destruction of civil institutions and symbols of civil authority.
Nnamdi Kanu is facing charges bordering on treasonable felony instituted against him in response to years of campaign for the Independent Republic of Biafra through IPOB. He had been granted bail in April 2017 for health reasons, but he jumped bail. He later left Nigeria after soldiers raided his father's residence in Abia State in November 2017. The chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association on Public Interest and Development Law, Dr. Monday Obani, now joins us on the news to speak more on this. Thank you very much for joining us on News Now. Now, what do you make of this latest development?
Indeed, it's a development, and it's somebody just called my attention to it this afternoon, and it was just like a breaking news that Kanu has been rearrested, And then I tuned into my television. I discovered there has been a court order by the same judge that was handling the matter in Federal High Court in Abuja that he should be remanded in DSS custody. In other words, what the federal government did is to ensure that the judicial process is where they have taken him to, so that if there is any allegation of any crime that he is alleged to have committed, let him have his day in court, which I believe is a proper thing. But the government has to be a bit more cautious and a bit more sensitive. We don't need much crisis in our country now. We need to be a bit more circumspect to avoid a situation that would be escalation of any unnecessary strife in the land. I'm pleased with the judicial process, which is where they have actually taken it to let the matter be resolved by a third arm of government that has the authority and constitutional power to decide the innocence or the guilt of any accused person. That to me is the first step that they have taken. And then they will not in any way get a persecution for letting him be properly prosecuted in accordance with the law, given all the necessary fair hearings that the Constitution itself has provided. That again is very, very important to everyone. And because the searchlight of the entire world now will be on Nigeria. How far Nigeria respects the fundamental human rights of any person that is accused of any crime will be a discussion, both international and local media. So we are all watching with keen interest. So let the judicial process take place and let Kanu be fair hearing before a considered arm of government, which is the judiciary. That again is very important.
Now, Dr. Obani, speaking of fundamental human rights, where do you see this case going? Because it's very likely that Kanu will be granted bail again. And currently we have a situation about El Zazaki and his prolonged detention. Now, are you concerned that this may also take a similar turn?
Well, I don't know the mind of the judge. There are certain considerations that actually impinge on the mind of the judge in granting bail. The character of the accused person, the history of the accused person, his previous crime, and how heinous the crime is. These are some of the circumstances that warrant a person who has been accused of a crime to be granted. But there are cases of offenses that are ordinarily bailable. There are those that are not bailable. And of course, if you're going to grant somebody bail, for those that are not bailable, must be for some of these extended circumstances, so that it impinges upon the mind of the court, that the court will now look at the case, maybe because of health grounds or because of this issue and all that, then you are granted bail. But with a reliable that you come to face your trial. So I cannot now predict the mind of the court. There are many circumstances, many issues that will clearly be on the mind of the court when application is being moved, whether he should be granted bail or we should probably order an accelerated hearing. Accelerated hearing means that the case can go from day to day in order to allow the prosecution to present the evidence it has against Kanu, and Kanu being given an opportunity to actually deny or admit the evidences that are lined up. So these are the things I envisage will happen. So I cannot predict what will be the mind and the decision of the court where it does happen.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Monday.
Nnamdi Kanu rearraigned in court after arrest, remanded in DSS custody.
My name is Eric Ikilai. I am a journalist with the Nation newspaper.
Okay, you were in the court. You were at the courtroom.
Yes.
Where the Nnamdi Kanu was arraigned. Can you tell us what happened?
He wasn't arraigned.
Okay.
He was brought to court by the DSS, and the lawyer to the government told the court that the man Kanu had been at large, that he was granted bail earlier in 2017, but since then he jumped bail and has flouted the bail conditions. So he now applied that Kanu be remanded in the custody of the DSS and that the trial be accelerated so that the case can be concluded on time. The case was initially adjourned till October 20th, but by his application, the court brought the trial back to July 26th and ordered that he be remanded in the custody of the DSS pending then, and asked the prosecuting lawyer to inform the defendant, the lawyer to the defendant, so that they can attend court at the next day. And then after proceedings, Kanu sought the permission of the court to talk and said he was absent in court. He has been absent in court because his house was invaded by some people who killed some people, and that he didn't want to be killed. That was why he has not been able. That's why he went underground and has not been able to attend court. It wasn't that he deliberately absented himself in court. So the court told him to liaise with his lawyer so that he can prepare for
something. Can you describe what Kanu looked like when you saw him today?
He looked okay. He was clean shaven. I know he was brought in court earlier, hooded. They removed the hood and he was looking well. He was dressed in black tracksuit.
Do you see him? You know him?
I
that
know
was
him. I saw
Kanu.
he had little megemu like the one that is white, that is gray. So he looks well, okay, and he spoke well. He looked healthy and nice.
Distinguished members of the press, good afternoon. You may recall that Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, the self-acclaimed leader of proscribed IPOB, was sometimes back arrested precisely on the 14th day of October 2015 on 11-count charge bordering on terrorism, treasonable felony, managing an unlawful society, publication of defamatory matters, illegal possession of firearms, and improper importation of goods, among others. You may also recall that a judge at the Federal High Court, Abuja, on the 28th March 2019, revoked Kanu's bail that was granted him on health grounds and issued a bench warrant for his arrest on the same date over his failure to appear in court for hearing. He has, often jumping bail, been accused of engaging in subversive activities that include inciting violence through television, radio, and online broadcast against the Nigerian state and institutions. Kanu was also accused of instigating violence, especially in southeastern Nigeria, that resulted in the loss of lives and property of civilians, military, paramilitary, police force, and destruction of civil institutions and symbols of civil authorities. Self-acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has, for your information, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services. He has been brought back to Nigeria in order to continue facing trial after disappearing while on bail regarding 11-count charge against him. recent steps taken by the federal government so to the interception of the fugitive Kanu on Sunday, the 27th day of June 2021. Inanne Nnamdi Kanu was born on the 25th September 1967 at Afrauku, Abia State, Nigeria, and indeed a holder of Nigerian passport number AO A051368827, first issued on the 17th October 2013 at Festac, Lagos. For your information, distinguished members of the press, Kanu is as at now been produced before Federal High Court in continuation of hearing of his case in respect of which he has evaded and indeed jumped bail. Thank you very much, distinguished members of the press, for your participation. Thank you.